Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to change the world one starfish or one person at a time. I'm really excited for our guest today. Guys, you'll want to share, rate, review, all this stuff. That's how we get the word out. But our guest today is Mary Yuter. She was a nurse in the cardiac ward, which I think is crazy, the ICU ward in New York for 13 years. That's a lot of patients. And she quit just before 2020 actually, and came into writing an author of a book about cardiac wellness and helping people get better. Started her own program now on that, working with natural health things against some of the Western medical society, I guess we could say. Not that she's against the medical society, obviously, but there's some better options possibly out there. So I'm really excited to have her. I know there's going to be a wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much for being on, Mary.
Hey, Angela, thank you for having me. Great introduction and very well said. Yeah,
Oh,
let's
good.
go. Let's dig in.
All right, yeah, let's do it. So what got you out of nursing? What made you realize, in 2020 that you wanted to write a book and then you wanted to help people with this like tell us about that. What got you into this?
Well, right just before COVID, I left. So at the very end of 2019, and I was doing bedside care, and I saw patients, thousands of patients in the time that I was a cardiac ICU nurse, and a lot of times they were coming back. It was a revolving door. They just weren't getting better. And when I discharged them, I was the last person to see them out the door. And it was really sad because they had a handful of medications, bag of medications, a list of follow up appointments and tests, and good luck. It wasn't like, this is what you need to do to change your life. This is week by week how you need to recover. These are the things you need to do to form a new lifestyle. It's like, oh, you have to make lifestyle changes, but what does that mean? And lifestyle changes, our choices become our future. So it's your daily choices which become your daily habits, which becomes your daily fallback, which becomes your daily go to, and it becomes part of you and it's what you do. And then it becomes your new lifestyle. So you have to build your lifestyle. Someone can't say, just change this. And it all starts with your mindset. And that is where my cardiac wellness program, the Heart Health Accelerator, starts is with your mindset and getting you primed up and pumped up and learning about um, things that may affect your ability to move on. Like if you're stuck in your trauma, PTSD, if you're stuck in depression, a lot of heart patients have depression that goes largely unaddressed. And they move through those stages of depression, anger, bargaining, finally acceptance. And there's grieving in there too for the loss of their life. So I created this book to address a lot of these things. And there's also a portion at the end of the book, the last part, for people, anybody who's going into the hospital for any kind of surgery, what you can do to prep, what you can expect when you're in there, and then how to recover afterward. And for the caregivers, because they're the forgotten people who are taking care of the patient when they come home. They've been in the hospital, which is a certain amount of care with a nurse, and now you're the nurse at home. But what do you do? And these caregivers, the family or whoever's caregiving, they have their own trauma. When you go in and see someone on all these machines keeping them alive, that's traumatic. So I created a special part of the book just for that as well.
That's awesome. So what do you find is one of the mindsets that people need to start, and hopefully before they go into cardiac, like this is for after, but like what do they need to start to maybe just avoid it altogether?
I think um, doing things like meditation, being self aware. A lot of people just go through their day, put their little propeller beanie on, slap their alarm in the morning, and they aren't really aware of their bodies. And I think being aware of your body and that it's an organism like a plant that you have to feed nicely and care for nicely. But the mindset, it's just mindset comes with it a whole frame of what you're doing each day. And again, going back to your habits. So that is such a good question, Angela. I need to marinate more on it because it merits more of an answer. But I would say coming back to your body is very important and keeping yourself calm. A lot of times people, what's going on in their head affects. So if you're for example, in road rage and traffic, what is that going to do? How's that going to affect your heart
Ever. What is
and your
that?
cardio yeah, and your cardiovascular system? So what is that going to do? So again, learning, hey, I don't need to do that. I don't need to react that way. I don't need to trigger that way. So learning your triggers and understanding that what you do is going to affect your nervous system, and then that's going to impact your cardiovascular system.
Hmm. And coming from someone obviously with a health challenge, sometimes we think we're invincible until we're not. So, what are some like if anyone's listening to this and they're just like, well, I'm not even worried about cardiovascular like anything. In fact, I'm probably one of those persons like I'm pretty healthy relatively. Um, what are some signs that maybe you should be worried, like pre-warning signs, um, or anything like that? Like, what are some things that you are commenting on that people don't know? What are some things that aren't out there readily and are available?
Another great question. So cardiac disease, just like hypertension and diabetes, they're all silent. Inflammation, they're all silent. You can't see them. But
Mhm.
your body normally runs in a state of homeostasis. It's checking and balancing um, what is going on. So you have this toxin, you're coughing, okay? You have something happen. So your body gives you little signs, like maybe you have fatigue. In women, heart attacks show differently. They don't show as left arm pain and jaw pain or chest pain. They
Interesting.
have epigastric issues. So a lot of times women might be going in and having a full-on cardiac event, and they are dismissed with, oh, here, take these pills for your stomach, take Nexium. And
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, and when you go in as a woman, insist on a cardiac workup. And then they may want to say, oh, your EKG looks fine. You can go insist on the blood workup. It's called a troponin workup. And they do a serial, like every 4 hours, they do a set of labs on your troponins because your EKG may not show anything yet. And
So that's like if
your
your stomach, like if you're feeling like bloated, like that kind of feeling, or like worse than that. Like tell me how it would
It's more
feel.
like nausea,
Okay.
bad nausea combined with fatigue, maybe sweating. You can have pain in the back between your shoulder blades even. You could even have right arm pain, so it's called referred pain. So
Interesting. Oh yeah, because
in
I just thought it was always left arm, left side, left.
yeah, no, 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 jaw pain, extreme fatigue, and difficulty breathing, shortness of breath. Because what
Now
happens
I
with
can
the
see
heart
why a
at
lot of people with MS probably pass from heart stuff
yeah,
because that would
yeah,
be all written off as MS symptoms.
really,
Mhm.
yeah.
Those are all MS symptoms: fatigue, tiredness, like all of that. Pain, blah, 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 because that is MS, a lot of MS. So, and I'm sure there's other things out there like that that they just write everything kind of off. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, so make sure you get your blood work done. If you're going through some of this stuff to see if it is a heart symptom or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, okay, so then, fast forward now, we've had a cardiac experience, we've had a heart attack, whatever. What are some things now that you're finding that that was the biggest thing was people had it and then they came back and they kept like going through it again. What are some things that you found that they need to do to not keep having it? How do they help themselves?
Right. So excellent questions. So first we want to protect our heart from further injury, and that means mitigating further damage by putting into place protocols that are healing. So again, starting with mindset, and a lot of these people have anticipatory anxiety because they don't even want to go to sleep. They're afraid of having a heart attack.
Yes.
Most heart attacks and cardiac events start in the middle of the night. And why is that? Because we're not moving. Our blood is sticky and sludgy, and that's when the clots can form. And a clot it breaks off the oxygen to the heart, and that's what causes the heart attack.
Right.
So it's starting with that, and then the biggest thing I can say is tactical strategy in your nourishment. And I don't like the word diet because it's very punitive, and I think
Mhm.
that sometimes if you're going to your favorite restaurant and they have this burger that you love and you love that, then have it, but don't have that every day and make it a qualitative purchase when you have something. But Tactical strategy, an example of that is making every meal your medicine and making your refrigerator your medicine cabinet instead of your medicine cabinet and pharmaceuticals your medicine cabinet. So, for example, if you have oatmeal in the morning and it's gluten free, so maybe you're taking gluten off the table, even if you're not sensitive, gluten free oatmeal, and there's your protein, and you're lowering your cholesterol with a lot of cinnamon, which can lower your cholesterol and your blood sugar because we want to help insulin sensitivity in our body. And then you have a dollop of coconut yogurt. We're going to talk about dairy in a second, but coconut yogurt for your probiotics, which help your gut bacteria. And when you help your gut bacteria, that's where the seat of your immunity is. So this breakfast is also helping your immunity. And to help those gut bacteria, they're like new pets. You have to feed your pet. So you're going to feed your gut bacteria and those probiotics, prebiotics. So throw some dates in your oatmeal, and dates are antimicrobial, antifungal, and
Sounds like a yummy
antiparasitic.
breakfast. Like I'm
Yeah,
in.
it's
So
typical. So it's my typical breakfast. So your dates are antimicrobial, antifungal, and antiparasitic. And if you've ever had sushi, chances are you have parasites. So dates are very important. They're fiber, so they help clear your colon, which
mm,
is prevents colon cancer, and you're feeding your good bacteria. So dates for the win. I always love talking about dates. And then bananas for potassium for your heart because the heart loves potassium. And hypertension is not so much caused by sodium, it's caused by a lack of the balance in our potassium sodium levels. So the first, everybody wants to badmouth sodium and salt, but we do need salt in our body, and it's part of our chemical makeup. And potassium is one of those electrolytes that we need. And then you could have in my coffee in the morning. My coffee is more like salad, so I chop ginger in it. I crush rosemary that I've dried from my garden from last summer. I use a collagen it's a chai powder, and it's all plant collagen, and then cinnamon, and we know about cinnamon now, cardamom to decrease the acidity, and then homemade cashew milk, which is just filtered water blended with cashews, vanilla, and cinnamon and a little maple syrup maybe. So right there, you've got a meal. You've got the fats from the cashews because you dump the pulp. Guest appearance. You dump the pulp into the oatmeal, so you've got the fats from the nuts, and you could use ground walnuts as well. And you've got omega threes, flax in your oatmeal. You've got omega threes, which are great for the heart. So that's what I mean by tactical nutrition, and that's a big part of my program. Is what can you do every meal to really amp up your body, as opposed to if you're having an egg and buttery bread. Let's say you're having an egg, that's fine. Make it from, a pastured animal, not something from the store. But if you go up country, let's say to the country, get some eggs, make an egg, spinach, and have lemon juice on the spinach to get the iron out of the spinach so your body can use iron out of the spinach. And uh I mean, that those are just some short examples. I don't want to keep talking about food, but you can see that you can either have a fried egg and a piece of toast, or you can have sourdough toast also. And what will the sourdough toast do? That's a prebiotic. So again, thinking consciously about everything you put in your mouth to feed your body is very important. And and that's part of where when I started nursing school, my nursing professor day one said, genetics loads the gun and environment pulls the trigger. So, in other words, your DNA is not your destiny, but what you do every day to your DNA is. And you can change the way your body responds. It's called epigenetics. So, you can change that every day by what you do.
so if I'm listening to this and I'm one of those like really simple people, so I'm like that sounds really complicated. That coffee for sure did. It sounds really good but complicated. What are a couple, let's say one or two really like tangible like don't eat, do eat lists, like probiotic, prebiotic, don't eat list. Like what would you put on like a couple things on those that are like the worst? or the
Well, number
best?
one, number one, the worst is dairy.
Interesting. So
And the reason,
cheese. There's all my cheese.
yeah, and people say, "Oh, I can't give up my cheese," and here's your mindset. I could have that, but I choose not to because I know it's not good for me, and here's why it's not good for you. It's cholesterol, it's liquid cholesterol, and it's solid cholesterol. Milk, dairy milk. Okay, if you let's back up here. When a human has a baby, do they nurse it all their lives? No, no. After it's like, getting into toddler phase, the baby weans off. Well, we're talking about a cow here. And this cow has been impregnated not naturally, and the baby's been taken away from the mother. And instead of the baby having the mother's milk, the mother's put on machines and the baby's taken away. So the mother's grieving. You have all these grief hormones in there. She's probably been given hormones to make milk, extra milk, and it's full of antibodies and hormones and fat unique to growing a baby bovine very quickly. So we're taking another species milk or cheese or whatever, their product that's meant for their baby and eating it. And this is why we have lactose intolerance. We're not supposed to be eating that. And nobody seems to think, isn't it strange I have to take a pill to be able to eat that? It's because our bodies don't want it. Now, casein, the protein in dairy, is directly linked to breast and prostate cancer. And there's a great book that talks about this. It's called The China Study by T. Colin Campbell, a research scientist from Cornell. And in addition to that, and I had my own brush with this. I thought I was doing the right thing and having my yogurt every day and drinking milk, and I was raised on that. And I had my own brush with breast cancer, and so that woke me up, and I started really doing a lot of research. And both my parents died of heart attacks, and if
Mm,
they had known, and we had all known what I know now, I'm sure they would still be alive. So
I guess your mission. Okay, so no no milk. We'll see about that. And what are what's something you should be eating?
well,
Like what's a good
milk is very inflammatory as well. So inflammation is the cause of most disease processes. It's a root cause. Um, what should you be eating? Lots of fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables are antioxidants, and what we want to do is it's feeding our body organically as much as possible. Stay away from things that are processed. If it was made in a plant, avoid it. If there's anything on any label that you don't know what it is and you wouldn't spoon it into your mouth, even in the products you use on your body, which because your skin absorbs everything you put on it, um, then get rid of it. And so those are the two big things I can say. Yeah.
so if someone so I've heard this one now on the fruit and vegetables, and I'm of the same kind of thought on it, but people are like, well, you can eat too much fruit. There's too much sugar in some fruit, that kind of thing. What are your thoughts on that?
I think everything in too much is probably not going to be good. Like a fruitarian diet, you're completely our bodies need variety. If you eat the same thing every day, you're ultimately going to be missing nutrients because you're eating the same thing. So that's why our bodies like variety. And I think if you're just doing something hardcore like that, it's not going to be good. It's like keto. You're jacking up your body to get a certain result, but that's not the natural state of your body. It might be good, for once in a while, to go into a state of ketosis, but it's not good to live in there all the time. And people get into heart disease directly from that. So, yeah.
Okay, a lot of fruit and vegetables. I love that. And then what about like exercise and what are your thoughts on that cardio, weightlifting? Like, is there a direct tie to not or to and cardiac problems?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I have people do, especially if they've come out of surgery, is just start walking. I myself walk every day. Walking is such great exercise. If you have a nice clip, you can get a cardiac workout. You don't have to do HIIT. And actually, some of this, and I know there's going to be a lot of people blasting me, but when you are doing all this heavy lifting, you're actually putting your body into a um, inflammatory state. And and yes, some of that is good, and you do need to do some kind of resistance training because our muscles control our metabolism. They control a lot of things, so it's very important to do some kind of resistance about 3 times a week at least. Um, but the hit anything gung ho, again, you're moving outside of like a norm for your body. Back in the day, uh, cavemen or our ancestors, if you look at like people from the 50s, I challenge everybody, look at a movie from the 50s, look at the people's bodies. The women have nice little hourglasses and curvature, and the men are, they're not these big hunks. You don't have to be this big hulking hunk. Um, you can be fit and actually and lean and still be healthy. There are a lot of people that are walking around that look beautiful on the outside, but they're jacked up on the inside. And really, it's your inside is what you want to work on, is having those arteries clear and have it keeping the inflammation down because almost everything in our society these days causes inflammation. So really keeping inflammation down, keeping our inflammatory state down, and controlling our nervous systems, really working on being mindful, mindfulness, self-care, um, meditation, journaling, gratitude. All those things are so good for us and move us into a state of calmness. And one of the other points I'd like to say is, if you, some people have Apple Watches or Fitbits that can check their heart rate variability. And what heart rate variability is telling us is what nervous system we're in. So, are we in our fight or flight sympathetic nervous system? Are we constantly, like, first thing in the morning, we're going and we've just got our foot on the pedal the whole day? Or are we in a constant state of rest and digest, slothing on the couch, whatever it is? But you what you want is you want your body to be adjusting. You want a high heart rate variability because that means your body is sensitive to shifts and it's moving, it's going, whoa, we got to take off the gas. It's going to help calm your inflammation as well. So you're it's going to keep you in homeostasis, keep that balance. And when we don't have that balance of homeostasis, that's when dis-ease, our disease processes manifest.
That makes sense. And I wanted to touch on, we chatted a little bit before, sometimes some of the things that we put in our body, whether they're medically encouraged or whatever, especially the last couple of years, um, sometimes might cause some issues, obviously, because that's again, it's a natural, non-natural, it's a man-made product. So anything man-made can cause problems, I believe. And so what are some things that can help people, I don't know if the word is detox, remove some of these harmful vaccines and stuff from our body to help prevent further problems?
Right. Such a good question. And I've got a lot of people that I'm working with on this issue. And if you think about it, first of all, again, our mindset, coming back to our mindset, and let's, okay, this happened or you got sick. Let's work on it. Um, what happens is there are a lot of chemicals and toxins and metals in vaccines, aluminum being one of them. And what we want to do, so think about when you put foil in a microwave, what happens? What
Yeah,
happens?
not good.
It's
It's like
it
sparks.
sparks. So you now have metal in your body and you're exposed to computers, cell phones, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, satellites, cell towers. So our bodies are constantly bombarded with this stuff. And what can we do to mitigate that kind of damage? Every morning, and we talked about electrolytes. This is another part. I have a protocol, 2 protocols in my program. This is part of my morning protocol, and that is having coconut water with spirulina and chlorella. And what spirulina and chlorella are from seaweeds, and they naturally help to take out heavy metals. But and cilantro as well. And some people can't handle cilantro because they have a genetic uh, component that makes it taste like soap. So,
I like
like,
cilantro, so we're good.
I know I have a friend that has that. She's like, "Oh, I can't have that guacamole they put cilantro." But, yeah, so cilantro is very good to throw in your salads or throw in a smoothie, and it's so you can almost feel it cleansing you. But the important component of that is that might help to get the metals out, but then you have to get them out of your body, and so you need to have your pathways clear, like flushing your body with a lot of fluids. We talked about the dates to help you move along your colon. And then what you want to do is sweat, whether it be natural outdoor sweating and exercise or a sauna, like an infrared sauna. There are infrared
Mhm,
sauna blankets that are great,
mhm.
going to a sauna, but daily having that ability to detox out of your pathways
And
is
how
really
long do you think
important.
it takes, if you're doing a sauna, let's say every day and you're drinking like a ton of water or whatever, like, eating the dates, really clearing your system. How long do you think it's taking people for the like to kind of get everything out of their system? Is there a time frame on that at all?
I don't know if anything can ever get out of your system totally, but what you're doing is mitigating and really doing the best you can to get everything out. There's not really tests as far as I know. You can check your iron and your ferritin levels. And by the way, everybody should be staying away from iron sup any iron supplements, any foods with iron supplements. The reason why, again, is we're putting another heavy metal in our body we don't need. We can get it naturally through food. And I gave you one little tip already is juice on greens, citric juice on greens. So you see spinach salad with orange, that is helping you to absorb the iron and making it more bioavailable to your body. But men in particular cannot get rid of excess iron in their body, and the reason why is they don't have menses, they don't menstruate.
Right.
So, and women, when they're past the age of menstruation, don't. So, baseline, you don't need anything iron fortified. And there have been, and I did this myself. I took a package of cereal, crushed it, and then took a fishing magnet and ran it, and you can see the iron. You can see a line of iron. So, we definitely do not need that in our body. So that's the other thing. The way that men get rid of iron is donating blood.
So guys, if you're listening to this, go donate some blood.
Get rid of
I
your
know I
iron.
tried.
Check.
I used to
Yeah.
donate all the time and they told me to quit because my iron was so low.
Oh,
Um, so I quit, but that's really interesting. Guys, go donate blood. You guys don't lose it any other ways, so
yeah.
go
Yeah.
donate it.
Yeah. Donate it. Do something good for yourself and for someone else. Yeah.
Love
And
it.
get your ferritin level and all your iron levels checked. Because ferritin is like the storage spot. So your iron levels might be good, but your ferritin's high, meaning, oh my gosh, I've got all this storage in my body that I don't need. That's taxing the liver.
Right. Okay. So sweating it out, sweating it out, drinking it out, eating dates. Prunes are good too for cleaning your system.
Yeah.
Um, cleaning your system out and doing that consistently will help to lessen some of the side effects of some of the, vaccines and stuff that are out there, or anything else. Honestly, that'll clear a lot of stuff out of your system. So, that's really cool. I
Also,
really
yeah, getting vitamin D. So, and when you supplement vitamin D, make sure that it has K2 in it because the K2 helps to take the calcium. What happens is straight vitamin D puts calcium in our arteries. You do not want your arteries clogged. So, D with K2 moves the calcium into our cells where it should be and keeps the arteries clear. And D is fundamental in our immune system and helping to maintain our immunity. And especially in the Northeast, like where we are, you don't get, in fact, I can't believe you're in a sleeveless. It's like 30 degrees here. Um, we don't get
hot
enough.
inside.
Yeah, we don't get enough vitamin D. So that's really important too. And all the supplements, vitamin C, very good for immunity. Um, Fish oil, having fish each week. A nice, healthy, well balanced, um, strategic meal plan is really important to support your body. And going back to mindset and because we don't know exactly what is going to happen, there are no long term, is really definitely protecting your body as much as possible by all the things we talked about, and having faith over fear.
I love it. These are so good. I love it. Well, in wrapping up, and I know that there's so much stuff, guys, reach out to Mary. We'll have all of her links and all of her stuff in the show notes. So definitely reach out. I can feel that this is like just the beginning of what she teaches people. So if you are going through anything cardiac, or it's in your family, or you want more information, like definitely reach out, get her book. We'll have all that, like I said, stuff in the show notes for sure. But I always wrap up with 3 final questions, and then anything we didn't touch on that you just think is most important for our listeners. So first final question, if someone's looking for their purpose, like I can tell you found your purpose, you're in love with what you're doing. If someone's looking for their purpose, what's one word or sentence that you would say that could help them find it?
Um, what makes you mad? What do you think needs to be changed in the world?
Most people say the other way. I like that. Okay, what makes you mad? Number 2, and I'm sure you have more than one. What's a favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is, "One person can make a difference, and everyone should try." JFK. Because one
It's a
person
full
can
model of our podcast. One starfish, one person. I
Right.
love it.
One person can make a difference. And you, for example, I'm sure that you've had people in your life that have said something that just changed the course of your life.
100%.
And for example, a coach, one one thing that person says can change the direction of their
Yeah,
life. One sentence you read in a book can change everything for you in the way you do your business.
totally.
So, yeah.
That's cool.
And
All right,
everyone
what
should try. A lot of people, again, put their propeller beanies on, and that's where being the example comes in, is by trying and being the example, you'll inspire others.
and last question is, what's one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
Well, I thought of a funny one. Not it's not what I would want, but see, I told you I was sick. But uh, probably Dancing in the Moonlight. It's my
Oh, I
favorite
like
song.
that.
It's
That's
my
really
favorite song.
Oh, I love that. And awesome. So if you run into someone in a coffee shop and they're like, "Hey, Mary, that was amazing. We're doing a lot of this stuff with coconut yogurt." I haven't even seen that before. Now I'm like on a hunt for this coconut yogurt. Sounds really yummy, actually. And
It
all this stuff
is.
that they're doing. But what's something that you didn't really touch on? What's something that we didn't touch on, for our listeners that you just think is really important to leave them with?
Oh gosh, the ins and outs of how the heart works. Because if you think about it, and I go into this in my program, if you think about it, like hold your hand up and go like this. Your heart is doing this for 80, well, you were in your mom's womb, it started doing that. So it's doing the equivalent of a push-up every second for 80 years. No rest. Imagine if your body, when
Oh,
you were
I'd be
out there
so tired.
or
Bend over.
planking. Yes, that's why we need to support it.
No kidding. Well, that's a very good visual to leave doing
Yeah,
a push-up
yeah.
every second. Oh my
And
gosh,
and it
so
and
exhausted.
it puts out swimming pools worth of blood in that time. Swimming pools. So we've got to help it. So
It's
that's
amazing.
yeah.
God has made us absolutely incredible.
Yes.
Um, Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, guys. I know you got a lot of value. Share this with people, get this word out, help people have less cardiac arrests and experiences and heart attacks and all that kind of stuff. Let's go out there. Let's change the world one starfish or one person at a time. As Mary was saying, if we can change one person at a time together, we can change the world. Thank you once again for being on.
Thanks, Angela.